with the training of the recipient countries scheduled to begin in March. In mid-November 2021, Egypt also announced the start of clinical trials for its first coronavirus vaccines, Covivax, a step that officials said would take 6 to 9 months.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and to shed more light on President Sisi's visit to Kuwait on Tuesday, we're joined over the phone by Dr. Hany Abdel Aziz, former Assistant UN Secretary General. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi paid a visit to Kuwait on Tuesday. How do you see the significance of this visit and the main topics on the agenda of the talks of President Sisi with Sheikh Nawaf al-Ahmad al-Jaber al-Suwah?
Okay, let me first say that I am not really an expert in inter-Arab relations.
Yes.
But what I know in general is that Kuwait has always played and continues to play a moderation role in the region of the Gulf and in the Middle East in general. Egypt has with Kuwait very long historical ties, which goes to independence of Kuwait, which continues particularly during the execrable bad invasion of Kuwait by Saddam Hussein, where Egypt has played a very important role in mobilizing the position of the Arab world and many South countries, many non-aligned countries in favor of the liberation of Kuwait.
Mm-hmm. Well, President Sisi expressed hope to increase trade and joint investment projects between Egypt and Kuwait. What's the importance of communicating with the Kuwaiti investors to support their activities in Egypt and overcome any obstacles or any challenges they face?
Okay, I think I have answered this entirely by saying that Kuwait has always played a moderation role amongst the conflicts amongst Arab states and Gulf states in particular. It not will be surprising to me that Kuwait is actually playing or will actually play very soon a role in the rapprochement eventually between Qatar and Egypt at their condition, of course, which has to be implemented and acceptable by the Qatar party, and eventually also expand this to the relations with Turkey to avoid conflict in the Eastern Mediterranean.
Yes.
I believe the role of Kuwait is very welcome, like the role of other Arab countries in the region, and I hope sincerely that there is a good result during this negotiation, particularly also to unify the Arab position towards the situation of the Renaissance Dam in Ethiopia. But all of this comes under the umbrella of the Arab Summit in Algeria in coming March, whereby some resolution has to be taken. Honestly, I'm not interested in resolution taken verbally. I'm interested in the implementation on the ground of such a resolution.
Right, Dr. Abdelaziz, how far President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's short visit to Kuwait has turned out to be fruitful in all fields of cooperation on both sides, the Kuwaiti and the Egyptian sides?
In principle, all visits at this level between Kuwait and Egypt have been fruitful and have brought some results. But now I'm talking about something wider. I'm talking about the Arab Summit in Algeria, where the Arab countries have to develop closer ties in support of the Egyptian position concerning the Renaissance Dam. This is essential.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, sir, earlier in Cairo, President Sisi met with the Speaker of the Kuwaiti National Assembly to discuss bilateral ties and regional issues. How can you estimate the importance of this and the ties between the two nations in various domains, especially in the political, economic, and parliamentary ones?
Look, I think the Kuwait-Egyptian relation have always been very, very strong. And there has been always cooperation on the different fronts you mentioned, starting by the political and eventually the economic and the direct investment in serious activities. They're not limited to retail activities in Egypt. I like to see Kuwaiti development efforts in Egypt in the field of construction of new developed industries and recuperation of land. These are essential. But to consider Egypt also a market of 104 million persons is not enough to develop really. I like to see all the Arab countries with resources having higher direct investment in serious industrial activities addressed to export of Egyptian goods to Arab countries and to African countries.
Right, sir. How can such an outstanding and close relationship between both countries on various levels, across all levels, contribute to promoting bilateral ties at both the official and the popular levels?
I spoke about the necessity to increase the direct investment, the public direct investment in favor of serious development of productive activities in Egypt. I think this is one of the objectives which has to be reached and further developed compared to the actual situation.
To what extent the government and people of Kuwait value the firm historic bonds and close relations they share with Egypt and its people?
Definitely, they value it. But we have to recognize that at the end of the day, each country will be looking to its own interest. This question of friendly relationship and my brother, etc., is excellent. It's excellent and discussed, it's important. But when it comes to negotiation table, each party, being Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, being the US, being Russia, they will look to pure interest. And I think, and pure interest are not essentially only economic interest or just money or just labor. It is wider. Political interest can cover economic, can cover environment, can cover a multitude of other issues. And this is why I expect this meeting at this summit to achieve in preparation, I repeat, of the March 6th summit in Algeria.
Yes.
President Sisi, head of state, is trying to create unified position of a majority of countries in favor of certain causes, in favor of certain problems affecting the whole region and affecting Egypt.
Yes, well, Dr. Hany Abdel, former Assistant UN Secretary General, many thanks, sir, for your insight. And dear viewers, now we continue with our special top stories and reports. The Central Agency for Public Mobilization and Statistics said Egypt's population will hit 103 million on Tuesday. In a press release, the CAPMAS underlined that the population growth rate should be decreased. It pointed out